Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host Krabbyterror8 and here we are in episode 4 of the Investigator games with everybody's favourite urchin Wendy Adams. Yes indeed, it is Wendy's turn in the Investigator games to front up to the midnight masks and see how many cultists she can bag before midnight. Yes, and for those of you who are new to the channel, what is the Investigator games? Well, it's like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator and we run through a scenario with each of them in true solo and see how they go. In this case, we're up to Midnight Masks. If you haven't seen Wendy or even or any of the other investigators go through the gathering, I would actually encourage you to maybe see how they go in that first. And you can see where they are on that table. Here is the table for the Midnight Masks so far with their accrued points from both scenarios. Obviously Wendy isn't on there yet, but we can see Roland is doing rather well so far. So as you can see, we rank the investigators from best to worst. And by the end of the campaign, in this case the Devourer below, we'll see who is the ranking investigator who has done the best. All the investigators start with their official Fantasy Flight Games starter decks, so although some of them are more functional than others, but that's how people start. And yes, as I said, it's Wendy's turn. Spoilers if you haven't played Arkham Horror the card game before, or you haven't played the Midnight Mask before. I would encourage that you do that. Before we get into Wendy's details, a couple of things. I had a chat to Wendy and Lita actually in the official trailer. Before you can see Wendy's now standing near the house there in Arkham. It's early in the morning. It's about just after 4 o'clock in the morning. She's waiting to get going. So I spoke to Wendy and Lita actually in the trailer before the game. As I usually do, it's a sort of a temporary green room at the moment. Seems like Lita's been doing a good job in looking after Wendy and making sure she attends school. She's certainly better dressed and neater than what she appeared during the gathering, at least, which was all great. I asked Wendy how confident she was going into the Midnight Masks, and she said that she was very confident and that she could easily beat these stupid-ass cultists. I'm quoting there. Lita, let's just say she was a little less positive about it, and said to Wendy maybe she should be a little less forward about her thoughts about the cultists, and it might be more difficult than she might imagine. So I have to say though, Wendy's response was to roll her eyes, and she muttered under her breath, "Whatever, grandma, #lame old person." And then she went back to her smartphone. So it was a bit hard to talk to Wendy much because she was on Snapchat and Instagram. And in fact, she did say she's trying to become an Instagram influencer. And you can see actually she's standing near the house now. She's taking selfies of herself. So she's hoping that actually the Investigator games will be a platform for her to become a full-time Instagram influencer. Whether that's going to be the case, I'm not really sure. Lita seems a little bit down about the whole thing. One positive note is that Wendy did convince Lita to buy her a new pair of FILA sneakers, those white sneakers with the stripes on she's wearing at the moment, which she's showing off in her selfies, as we can see. So she's certainly pleased about that, if nothing else. So we will see how she goes. My apologies if I seem a bit coughing quite a bit. I do seem to I have a cough at the moment, so I do apologize if I suddenly start coughing. Okay, so so just a recap on Wendy Adams, as much for me as anybody else. Sometimes I forget all the details of these investigators. There are so many of them now, which is fantastic. There's such a choice. Wendy, very strong in willpower, very strong in agility, so great for evasion and doing those willpower tests. Not too bad in terms of getting clues either, but where she really falls down is fighting, with only a 1 fight. Now, in a multiplayer game, that's less of an issue because you can, you can usually get other investigators to do fights or strength checks. But in solo, you need to be a bit more well-rounded than that. So that's probably the biggest issue here. It's going to make it very difficult for Wendy to deal with a couple of the cultists, and because Wolfman Drew, obviously, and the cultist who turns up in the agenda deck. You can evade them, sure, but of course this Midnight Master is all about bagging as many of them as possible, not only to get victory points, but also to make your life easier when you come to the next scenario. So as you'll see with the deck, we have got ways of dealing with things like that if we need to. She's got some very nice skills. If you reveal a Chaos token, you can discard a card from your hand and cancel that Chaos token, return it to the bag, reveal another one, which is just fantastic. And her Elder Sign effect is automatic success if you have Wendy's Amulet in play. So again, very nice. And pretty robust, 7 health and 7 mental health, so pretty good from that point of view. So it's just her fighting that's an issue. Now, just to remind us, she does have Haunted as her basic weakness. Not too bad, pretty standard basic weakness. She did defeat the Ghoul Priest and brought Leader Chandler on board, so there we go. She's got an additional card in her hand with an ally. Now, she had 6 experience points to spend, so we did a couple of things because obviously the Fantasy Flight game standard deck that Wendy started with was less than ideal. It had some reasonable cards in it, but it was less than ideal. So a couple of things. First of all, like I did with Skids, it seemed like a no-brainer to add Adaptable to the deck, which meant we could change even more cards. And then it was really about shoring up what we had. Adding another Leo DeLuca seemed like, again, a no-brainer, as it was with Skids, because, of course, it can just make such a difference, particularly to a scenario like Midnight Masks, which is, you really are under pressure to get things done in a very relatively short space of time. In addition, I got rid of a couple of other weapons. There was a Derringer in there and a flick knife. I've replaced them with the Fire Axe, which just, if we are going to have to fight, then I think the Fire Axe just feels like a better choice, because if we've got resources, we can improve our skills somewhat. And so it felt like a better choice all round. I also added in an extra Lucky, because Lucky never goes astray. I put in an extra Sneak Attack and an extra Backstab and an extra Elusive just to shore up those rogue type cards, because I think, things like Sneak Attack and Backstab for Wendy are really important, because they just mean that she's much more likely to succeed with some kind of fighting that might go on, and it plays more to her agility. So they all seemed really good. Elusive is great in the Midnight Mask because it allows you to jump around. So that's good. So that's where we put our resources. Maybe you have another point of view about what we could have put into our upgraded our deck, but they felt like pretty good things to do specifically for the Midnight Masks to help us along the way. So there we go. That's the changes we made to the deck. So I'm just going to close and shuffle up the deck right here. So that's closed and shuffled, and here we are set up already in Octagon, ready to go. This is just adaptable here. We've got our 5 resources, we've got our 3 actions ready to roll, and we have the clue on the house. Everybody starts with the house in that way. So I think we're ready to go. I think it's then just a case of just reading the agenda and the act deck, and then we can draw our hand, and Wendy will be ready to go in the Midnight March. Okay, well, let's start by reading out the agenda and the act deck. Predator or prey? Or is it predator or prey? Lita seems convinced of a conspiracy within the city of Arkham. She believes that a secret cult serves the ghouls that live in the crypts beneath the city, and that several of the cult's prominent members are scattered throughout Arkham. As you begin searching for them, you can't shake the feeling that you, too, are being hunted. Resign. You don't want to risk taking too long, so you head to safety with the information you've gathered. Well, we will be resigning, but not yet. Uncovering the conspiracy. You have one night to find members of this cult and unveil their plan. The more members of the cult you can find and interrogate before midnight, the better. And we can spend 2 clues to have a look at a cultist. And we've got to find as many as we can. Okay, so there we go. We're ready to roll. So it's now time to draw from the from our deck. See what we get. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, I think we, at the very least, we want Leo DeLuca. At the very least, we want Leo DeLuca. We also, I think, what else would be nice would be to get a fire axe, so we've got that in hand if we need it. I think having the odd backstab, sneak attack would also be good, so we can deal with the odd cultists. I think they're the main things. Obviously, getting a lucky or 2 would also be handy as well. So let's see what we get. And we will draw, and we get backstab. Very nice. That's a good start. Sneak attack. There we go. Very nice. Also a good start. Opportunist. Yep, that could be a nice card. Lucky. Excellent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a pickpocketing, which is really good for Wendy because obviously discarding and drawing cards is quite important. So this isn't a bad draw, but there's no Leo DeLuca in here, or Leader Chandler, which would also be handy. So I do want to keep pickpocketing because I think that's a really good card. I also think backstab's excellent. Well, so is lucky, I guess. In fact, thinking about it, most of the time in the early stages, we don't need these cards so much. So whilst they're good cards to get for, say, Wolfman Drew a bit later, they're not really needed in the early stages. So I'm going to throw these in because I really want Leo DeLuca and I want to maximize the opportunity. I want to keep these 2. Let's see if we can get Leo DeLuca. So that's 3 more. 1, Wendy's Amulet. Very nice. Play the topmost event in your discard pile as if it were in your hand. Very nice. And also we get Unexpected Courage, which is a nice card. Come on, Leo. And we don't get Leo DeLuca. Well, we tried. Hopefully he will turn up at some stage. So that was a bit disappointing. We've shuffled that up. So I think it's time to go. Crowd goes wild. Wendy waves to the crowd and does another selfie with the crowd. I'm sure that will be hashtagged at some stage. Feelers are looking very bright and shiny, so we're all ready to go in the Investigator games. So, what do we do? So this is our first, we're in turn 1. I think we'll do a little bit of a setup stage here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pay 2. Oops. And I'm going to bring out pickpocketing. That's the first thing I'm going to do. The second thing I'm going to do is to pay another 2. And I'm going to bring out Wendy's Amulet. So we can play the topmost event in your discard pile as if it were in your hand. Well, there's nothing in the discard pile at the moment. However, lucky is an event, so that's very handy to have. And for our third action, I think I'll use this, which is to draw a card and gain a resource. So for our third action, we will draw a card. We get opportunist, and we will get ourselves a resource. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So we move into the enemy phase, or the enema phase, as I like to call it. Of course, there are no enemas or enemies to speak of at the moment. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get another emergency cache. We're going to have plenty of cash, it would seem, which if we get the fire axe will actually be quite nice. We'll see. So we move into the mythos phase. The first doom is down on the mythos phase, so it's now time to see what the encounter deck has for us, and the encounter deck has Hunting Shadow. You must either spend a clue or take 2 damage. Well, we don't have a clue, so we have to take 2 damage. Unfortunately, there we go. We can get rid of that now. Okay. There we go. So that's the end of the first phase. Move into our investigation phase with 3 actions onto Wendy. So what do we want to do here? I think we want to get this clue, get into Rivertown and get the next clue. So that's probably what we really want to do. So this is a 2 shroud and we are a 3. And we've got lucky here. So, I mean, we could commit. I might do this. I'm going to commit opportunist to it. So that gives us a 4 versus a 2, so we need a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a 0. Fantastic. Fantastic. So that was our first action. Did we succeed by 3 or more? No, we didn't, because it was a 2 versus a 4. So we succeeded by 2, not 3 or more, so we lose the opportunist. Our second action will be to move to Rivertown. So we'll flip Rivertown. 1 clue onto Rivertown. And I guess for our third action, we will go ahead and investigate. Now this is so this is our third action. It's a 1 shroud. We are a 3, so it's a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we also get that clue. There we go. So that was a pretty successful round. All the things that happened as we hoped and expected. We got the clue from the house. We then moved to Rivertown and we got the clue from there as well. So we are ready to unearth our first cultist next time. So there we go. So we will move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase and we can get survival instinct. This could be very handy in the Midnight Masks. Not right at the moment. It'd still be great to get a fire axe. And it'd be great to get Lita Chandler or Leo DeLuca as well. But anyway, we will persevere on our own at the moment. So we move into the Mythos phase. That's the second Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck, I hate these things. Hunting Night Gaunt. So we get a Hunting Night Gaunt. These keep popping up every single time, but I guess that's just the way that it goes. So yes, so the problem, I mean, they're easy to evade, and we won't be fighting it, and we draw a card every time we evade it, so that's all nice, but the problem is they're doubling the negative modifier. Can be a bit of a pain, but anyway, we will see how we go. So we move into the investigation phase, 3 actions onto Wendy. And our first action will be to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt. We're not even going to try and fight it. That would be a little silly to try and do that. Now we've got Wendy's amulet. If we do get a Elder Sign, we automatically succeed. So so yes, first action is to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt. So we're a 1 versus a 4. 1 versus a 4. Let's just go ahead straight up and do that. Oh, Chaos Bag. That means a -6. Now, we could play lucky and evade. Because, no, hold on. -6, 7. No, and we are a 4. So no, that's not going to work. So that's a failure. All right, let's try again. Evasion again. Chaos Bag gives us 0, so we evade the Hunting Night Gaunt this time. There we go. Now we evade an enemy, exhaust pickpocketing, draw a card. And we get haunted. Okay. Oh dear. -1 to each of your skills, then discard haunted. Well, we can't do that because we've only got one action. So, oh well, I suppose it's better to get these weaknesses out of the way early. So, we'll have to keep this for next time. So I think what we do now is yeah, so I just realized I could have used Wendy's skill here to I could have chosen a discard a card from my hand. I could have done that and then redrawn. That's all right. We can, and that would have been particularly helpful that time. We must bear that in mind for next time. So for our third action, we're going to spend the 2 clues. And we're going to get the first cultist out of the deck. So we will, where are the cultists? Here they are. I'll just shuffle them up. And the first cultist is Wolfman Drew. Not the one I was hoping for. But there we go. Okay, so we've got Wolfman Drew out. I don't think we'll be dealing with him anytime soon, but there we go. That's the end of our go. So we move into the enemy phase. There is an enemy, but the enemy exhausted. We move into the upkeep phase. And here we are, back with the Hunting Night Gaunt. They really are a pain in the backside, these guys. I really hate them. So let's move into the Mythos phase. There are now 3 on here. We're already halfway through the first agenda. We've been really waylaid. We need to get some more clues. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. An encounter deck has for us Crypt Chill. Here we go. Test 4. Now, I suppose if we had to lose something, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So it's a test 4, and we are a 4. I think we just go ahead and see what the Chaos Bag has for us. So we're going to go straight up 4 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us +1. So, no problems. There we go. Fantastic. Okay. Brilliant. So we move into our investigation phase. We're in turn 4. We put 3 actions onto Wendy. And the first action will be to evade the Hunting Night Gaunt again, but we are now -1. So we're a 3, and the Hunting Night Gaunt is a 1. Do we commit something, or do we see? I mean, we've got these 2 emergency caches, which we probably don't need. The other thing is we can throw Lucky away, because we can then play it. You can play your topmost event in your discard pile as if it were in your hand. So it's not a big deal if we have to do that anyway. So why don't we go 1 versus 3 on evasion? So evasion of the Hunting Night Gaunt. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which is the highest number of Doom Undead cultists in play, which is 0. So we successfully evade the Hunting Night Gaunt. And then I think we get rid of Haunted. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get us very far, but it gets rid of Haunted. So we get rid of that. There we go. That's the end of our go. So it was successful in the sense we got rid of Haunted and we evaded the Night Gaunt, which means we should have drawn a card. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Exhaust here, draw a card, and we get a knife. Very nice. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So we move into the enemy phase. The enemy's exhausted, but not for long because it's back here for the upkeep phase. We're getting some fight cards, which is nice because at the moment we've only got Wolfman Drew on the table, but what we need to do is actually get to Southside. Hopefully it's Mars boarding house and we can bring someone like Leo DeLuca onto the table. Could even bring Lita Chandler onto the table, but I think Leo's better because we just get more actions generally overall, and that's something we're going to need because we are now into turn 4 of the Mythos phase. We're more than halfway through, and we haven't gotten anywhere yet. So let's see what the encounter deck has for us. The encounter deck has for us another Hunting Shadow, so we have to take another 2 damage. So that's 4 damage. So we really do need some kind of ally because we're going to die very quickly unless we do something about that. Okay, so we move into the investigation phase. There are 3 actions on Wendy. First action is once again to evade this hunting night gaunt. So we are 1 versus a 4. Chaos bag gives us a cultist. So that's -4. So that's -4. So that would be a failure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. I can discard a card from my hand, and I can draw a new chaos token. See what we get. Skull, fantastic. So now the night gaunt is evaded, which means we can exhaust pickpocketing again and draw another card. My goodness, we've got so many cards now. So that's our first action. Fantastic. Second action, we're going to move to Southside. Flip Southside. Clue on Southside. And it is Mars boarding house. So we're going to do this. Search your deck for an ally asset. Add it to your hand. So we're going to do that. So we are going to search our deck. And we're going to get out Leo DeLuca. I think better than Lita Chandler. I mean, Lita Chandler gives us +1 fight and +1 damage, but it's more the actions we need rather than anything. So I'm going to take Leo DeLuca. There we go. Close and shuffle up the deck again, and we've got the resources to spend, so all good. Okay, so we evaded the hunting night gaunt. We then moved to Southside, and we searched our deck for an ally and put it in our hand. You can just do that once per game. So there we go. So we move into the enemy phase. The enemy is exhausted, so we move into the upkeep phase. Now we have to put something in our discard something. Now we can play an event from our, because we've got the Wendy's amulet, we can actually discard Lucky, and we can still play it. So I'm going to discard Lucky because Lucky is an event, and as it says here, you can here. You can play the topmost event in your discard pile as if it were in your hand, so it's no big loss. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 5 doom. We really have had a very slow start. Let's see what the encounter deck has. The encounter deck. Hello. And the encounter deck has an acolyte. So we can put the acolyte onto a. Now I'm just thinking about this. The acolyte gets a doom. It's already at 5 doom, so actually it doesn't matter because the doom will go next go. So we don't actually have to kill this acolyte. So I can put this acolyte somewhere fairly innocuous at the moment. So I'm thinking I might just put the acolyte here because I don't really want to have to worry about fighting him. It doesn't matter that he's got a doom on him because it's going to flip anyway. So yeah, just leave it and forget about it. Okay, brilliant. So we move into the investigation phase. And oh, we got a backstab. I didn't notice that. Very nice. So that's good, because I think if we're going to kill Wolfman Drew, we probably need to backstab him and use sneak attack and various things if we're actually going to successfully deal with him. So what do we want to do? We need to get some more cultists out. And the other thing is there's going to be another cultist on us next time. So we don't want to be in Southside any longer than we have to be. But I think the first thing we do is we play Leo DeLuca. So we bring out Leo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put pickpocketing over here because it keeps exhausting. So I'll put it over here. So we'll spend 6 on Leo DeLuca. Right, so that's our first action, which means we still have 3 actions. Sorry, I didn't put the actions out. So, great. So we still have 3 actions. So the next action is we will investigate Southside. So it's a 2, and we are a 3 shroud. So it's a 2 versus 3. So it's a -1 or better. I'm wondering whether we commit something here or we use our... it seems a bit of a waste to use the lucky. The flashlight would be handy for Miskatonic University because that's got a shroud of 4. 2 versus 3. Is there anything we would... I don't really want to throw any of these cards out, to be honest. I probably am going to commit Unexpected Courage, so that makes it a 2 versus a 5. Let's see how we go. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so that was unnecessary, but never mind. We get the clue, so that was our second action of 4. For our third action, we will move to St Mary's Hospital. Flip St Mary's Hospital. There's a clue on here. It's got a shroud of 2. We can heal 3 damage here. So yes, I'm wondering whether we should heal the damage. I mean, we've got Leo now, but we're only on... Yeah, we don't have a lot of health. Or do we get the next clue? The thing is, the cultist is going to kick over next time, and he's going to be here with us. So we're going to have to spend a go just to evade him. So I think we get the other clue. So it's a 2... versus a 3. So we're in a 2 versus a 3 situation again, but we do have lucky that we can use. Why don't we just see straight up 2 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a -4. So that's well, no, because that's 2 versus 3, so that puts us to 0 and 2. So yes, we can spend a resource and spend it on use lucky. Spend lucky, and when we play, when you play an event, place it at the bottom of your deck instead of in the discard pile. So we can put that at the bottom of the deck. How do we get it to the bottom of the deck? That's the only thing. How do I get it to the bottom of the deck without looking at the rest of the cards? That is, because I don't think you can say, you can shuffle it into the deck. Move to, bottom of deck. Wow, I just realized, I never knew that you could do that. Move to the bottom of the deck. There we go. So I've moved it to the bottom of the deck. Fantastic. Okay, so we succeeded there, and we got the second clue. So that was quite an eventful round, really, all round. We got Leo DeLuca out with our first action, so that left 3 actions. We then successfully got the clue from Southside. We then moved, and then we played lucky from our from our discard pile. And I don't think we've got any more events in the discard pile. Oh, we do. Play the topmost event card as if it were in your hand. So I can play an emergency cache. I think that's now the topmost event card. Yes, it is. So so what I might do is I might just put it on the top so we remember that it's the topmost event card. So we can play that from as if it was in our hand. Fantastic. Okay, so that was the end of our go. So we move into the enemy phase. So the Hunting Night Gaunt moves here to south side. I think there's been some contention about whether it would move to Miskatonic University or south side. It's equidistant, so I can't see why it wouldn't move to south side. That's the way we've been, and wouldn't it follow us? I imagine it would. So there we go. So that's the end of the enemy phase. So we move into the upkeep phase, and we now have 2 backstabs. Wow, we've got so many backstabs now. Great. Oh. Pity we don't have a fire axe. Anyway. So we move into the mythos phase. There are now 6 on here, so that indeed flips. And there we go. And so yes, the cultist comes out, and he's here. So there we go. Masked Hunter. He's 6 health. Yes. So there we go. Okay. Oh, and we will put the next agenda. Time is running short. Time is indeed running short. Yes. Minutes pass quickly as your investigation continues. Resign. You don't want to risk taking too long. So you head for safety with the information you've gathered. Okay. So there we go. All right. So now we see what the encounter deck has for us. Hello. And the encounter deck has a false lead if you have no clues. If you have one or more clues, test 4. If you fail, place one of your clues on your location. So we are we're a 3. So that's a 3 versus a 4. Ooh. Okay. Well, I guess we could commit the flashlight, which would make us a 4 versus a 4. Let's see how we go. Oh, that doom has gone from there, by the way. So that's a 4 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. Fantastic. So we get an Elder Sign. If Wendy's amulet is in play, it is. You instantly succeed. So there we go. So that's an asset, isn't it? So I might just keep that at the top so we don't forget we can play that. So we don't lose our clue. But we did lose our flashlight in the process, but never mind. Okay, so there we go. So we move into the investigation phase. 4 actions onto Wendy. So, what do we do here with the Masked Hunter? Yes, indeed. So, now, if we had lots of resources, which we don't have, we could look at backstabbing him a couple of times. Unfortunately, we've only got 1 resource, so what we could do is we could evade him. We could then play emergency cache as a second go. We could backstab him for 3 points of damage, and then we could play another emergency cache. And then prepare to backstab him again next go. So we could do that. It feels like an awful lot of activity. I mean, here's a 2 victory, because the alternative is to evade him and spend the 2 clues and see if we can get an easier person than the Masked Hunter. The other thing is Wolfman Drew is probably easier to backstab, so I'm thinking we probably, because with 6 it's a lot, whereas Wolfman Drew would be 1 backstab and sneak attack and he'd be dead. So I'm feeling that that's probably a better way than trying to, because with the Masked Hunter we would evade, but then we would need emergency cache, whereas if we can get some resources, we can maybe get rid of Wolfman Drew instead. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know what's better. I don't know if it's better to focus on the Masked Hunter. But the problem is then we'll also be dealing with the Hunting Night Gaunt. Like if it was just the Masked Hunter, it wouldn't be so bad. But the Hunting Night Gaunt's going to jump in and hit us next time. So I'm feeling it's probably better to evade and move on. So our first action will be to evade the Masked Hunter. 2 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -2, so that's successful. So we exhaust pickpocketing, which we're using a ton of, aren't we, to draw another card, which worries me a little bit because we might draw into our weakness, which is elusive. So that's our first action. Our second action is to spend 2 and to see what we get from the cultist deck. Shuffle it up and then see, and we get Herman Collins in the graveyard. Oh, discard 4 cards from your hand. Okay, so why don't we yeah. So we could move to Rivertown, but then the Hunting Night Gaunt is going to grab us. So we either move to Southside and evade the Hunting Night Gaunt, or we... Oh, okay, hold on. No, we don't have... I was going to say we can use elusive to... No. So, I might... So there's a couple of things we could do. I don't really want to get hit by the Hunting Night Gaunt. I don't really want to waste time healing damage if I can help it. So what I might do is I might move up to Northside and maybe get ourselves ready to try and kill Wolfman Drew. Then, if we can then we could move to East Town, use elusive or evade and get down to Rivertown and then go and get Herman Collins, something like that. I think that's probably the way to go. So I'm going to spend an action and move up to Miskatonic University. I think I just did that again. I put it in the victory display. Where's the victory display? Here. Yes, I put it in the victory display. That's pretty funny. Okay. Let's try flipping it instead. 2 clues. What else? Search top screen. Okay. And then we will move again and we'll move up to Northside. 2 clues on here as well. Okay. So, yeah. That's not right. That should be a clue. So that was a bit of a non-event in terms of things happening from a perspective of getting anything done. We managed to evade the Masked Hunter, and we got ourselves up to. We also managed to get Herman Collins out, and then we got ourselves up to Northside. So I think we're going to try and get rid of Wolfman Drew next time. I think that's what we'll attempt to do. Okay, so we'll move into the enemy phase. So the Night Gaunt would move up to here, to Miskatonic University. Then we move into the upkeep phase, and we have to get rid of something. So I think we probably just put emergency cash at the top of the discard pile because we can play it from there if we need to. So there we go. We get burglary, which we can get 3 resources with that. So we move into the mythos phase, and we'll see what the encounter deck has for us. And again, it's a false lead, but we have no clues, so we surge it. And we get Crypt Chill. So it's 4 versus a 4. 4 versus a 4. I don't really have anything else to commit here, so let's see what the Chaos Bag has for us. Chaos Bag has for us an Elder Sign, so we succeed. Easy. Wow, second Elder Sign. Fantastic. Okay, easy. All right, so we move into the investigation phase. 4 actions onto Wendy. We could spend time getting these clues and these resources, but the problem is we have the Hunting Night Gaunt right on us. So I think the best thing to do is if we move here, we evade. It's going to be resources because we need, if we're going to backstab Wolfman Drew, we need 3. And then we need 2, so we need 5 resources. This is just a regular fight. Neither of them are fast attacks. That's all right. So I think, so the first thing, yeah, so we'll get the extra cash to give us 5 resources first, then we'll move, then we'll evade, and then we will, do we backstab or do we do a sneak attack? I think we do the sneak attack, and then next time we can do the backstab. That's the thing to do. So I'm going to use Wendy's amulet to play an event. So from the topmost onto your deck. So I'm going to play emergency cash as my first action. So that's 3 resources. This then goes to the bottom of the deck. There we go. So that was our first action. And then our second action, we will move to north side. Sorry, downtown. Flip it. There are 2 clues here. We can gain 3 resources here, but we won't be doing that at the moment. Because for our third action, we will be evading Wolfman Drew. So he's a 2, and we are a 4. Yeah, a 2 versus a 4. Let's just see what the Chaos Bag has for us. So Chaos Bag gives us a -2, so we succeed. We succeed, and keeps doing that. Which means we exhaust and draw a card. And then for our final action, we will spend 2. And we will sneak attack Wolfman Drew for 2 damage. So, yeah, we've just got to do 2 more points of damage to him next go. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So, so reasonably successful. We got ourselves some extra resources. We moved to downtown. Wolfman Drew, of course, engaged us. We successfully evaded him, and then we did a 2 damage sneak attack to him. So hopefully next time we can get rid of him, and then we can move on our way towards getting Herman Collins, because we've got heaps of cards. So I think if we manage to do those 2, that's pretty good. It's whether we can then successfully do anything else, but we'll see how we go. So we move into the enemy phase. So the Hunting Night Gaunt moves there, and the The Masked Hunter moves up to Miskatonic University, so they're on their way. We move into the upkeep phase. We get Leo DeLuca. Well, I think we can get rid of him because I'm not going to be using... are we really going to be using burglary? Well, we might for the pip. They're pretty equal. Probably Leo. I'm probably going to get rid of Leo DeLuca because I'm not going to spend 6, so I think we can get rid of him. I've just realised we should... That's not an event. It is an event. So this is the topmost event in our deck, is Sneak Attack, which is fantastic. So it's the one we can play as if it were in our hand. So that's very nice to have Sneak Attack there. No, I should have actually put it on the bottom of my deck. I just realised that shouldn't be there. That should be on. Move to the bottom of the deck. I just realised because I didn't commit it or discard it in some other way. So the emergency cache is still the one on the top. So yes, I've just got to remember when you play an event, you put it on the bottom of your deck instead of in your discard pile. Okay. Yes. Where are we? Oh, that was the upkeep phase. So we move into the good old Mythos phase. There are now 2 dooms, so time is running short. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has, again, Hunting Shadow. We already had some of these. How many are there in here? 1. Oh my goodness. This is really bad. I'm wishing I'd... oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we can either... spend a clue, take 2 damage. Well, I'll give a damage to Leo, and I'll take another damage. So we're now up to 5. Oh boy. Things are getting a bit rough from that perspective. That's 3 Hunting Shadows this game. Nasty. Okay, so we move into the investigation phase. We put 4 actions onto Wendy. Now, I think the main thing we do is we get rid of Wolfman Drew here. So yes. So we could fight him normally. We could. I mean, we're a 1, but we've got here 2, 3, 4. So we could go 4 versus 4 and try and do it that way. Or we could just simply spend 3 and backstab him. I'm thinking that's probably what we should do. So I'm going to spend... So for my first action, I'm going to spend 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to bring out backstab. So this uses our agility. So we have an agility of 4, and he is a 4. But I might make that a 5. I'm going to make that a 6 because that's going to put backstab at the top of our discard pile, and we can play it from there. So so these are committed. This is played. So this one will go to the bottom of our deck because we played it. These ones will go into the discard pile. So we are now a 4, 5, 6. 6 versus 4 against Wolfman Drew. Chaos Bag gives us a -2, so we succeed. So we move this to the bottom of our deck. These go into the discard pile, and now that's a skill. This is an event. This is at the top of our deck now, as per Wendy's amulet. So we succeed, and we kill Wolfman Drew. So he is in the victory display. Fantastic. Okay. So we've got 3 actions left. And the Hunting Night Gaunt is going to be on us before too long. So what do we do here? We really need to get Herman Collins. So we really need to get to downtown as quickly as we can. But the problem is, if we get to it now, the masked hunter will... So I think the best thing to do is to move to East Town. There's a clue here. While at East Town, you reduce cost of each asset you play ally asset by 2. We're not going to do that. So now the acolyte is engaged with us. We've still got 2 actions. So I think we just look to evade. We look to evade the acolyte. So he's a 2 and we are a 4. So 2 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us 0, so he's exhausted. Oh, I'm so exhausted being an acolyte. I think I need to sit down. So we exhaust pickpocketing and draw a card. Very nice. And we still have 1 action left. Well, we're going to need 4 cards from our hand anyway. So what do we do with our final action? I don't want to draw another card, so I might just take a resource. So we will take a resource. And that's the end of our turn. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. So the Hunting Night Gaunt moves here. I think, what's close? 1, 2, 3. No, it will move here. So it actually moves to Rivertown. The Masked Hunter. So they move. In the upkeep phase, we get a lucky. Very nice. Okay. Yep. And so we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 3. We really need to try and get at least 1 more cultist if we can, because we've only got 5 more turns. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has Obscuring Fog. Does that go on your location? Okay, so that goes here. We'll send it to the back. Okay. So we move into the investigation phase. 4 actions onto Wendy. So what I'm going to do is, because I could spend a lot of time messing around, I could evade this acolyte, then I could move here and evade the Masked Hunter. Yeah, I could do that, but I'm drawing cards, and my concern is I'm going to draw into my weakness when I don't really want to do that. So what I might do is what I might do is I'm going to spend 2, and I'm going to use Elusive. It's a fast play, so actually it's not an action. I'm going to disengage from this acolyte, and I'm going to move to St. Mary's Hospital as a first. So that's my fast play. And then for my first action, I'm going to heal 3 damage. Yep. And then for my second action, I'm going to get this clue. So it's a 2 versus a 3. Let's make it a 2 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives me +1, so I succeed. And I get the clue. So let's see, fast action, heal 3, and investigate. So we still have 2 more actions to go. I want to stay here because these guys will move back to get me, and then I can then move over to the graveyard and discard 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So I've got 2 actions left. It's a pity I don't have another clue. Do we draw a card? Yes, I think we draw a card, or we get Leader Chandler. And we take a resource. Yep, so that's my 2 actions. Okay, so hopefully next time we can get Herman Collins, and then I don't know if we're going to have much time to do anything else. I don't know if there's an efficient way of doing things, but anyway. So we move into the enemy phase, so the Masked Hunter moves back to here, and so does the Hunting Night Gaunt. They move back to here. Then we move into the upkeep phase, and we get the Fire Axe at last. So, maybe we, yeah, anyway. So, bit late for the Fire Axe, but anyway. And then we move into the Mythos phase. There are now 4 doom. We're halfway through. Encounter deck gives us a locked door. Attach the location with the most clues. Well, it's either going to be Miskatonic University, or it's going to be Northside. I'll probably put it onto Miskatonic University. Why not? So there we go. Locked door. Okay, so we move into the investigation phase. 4 actions onto Wendy. So what do we do here? So our first action is to move to Southside. Our second action is to move to Rivertown. Our third action is to move into the graveyard. Now, obviously, when we move into the graveyard, has it flipped? There we go. Hello? Why isn't it showing? Oh, I must have flipped it. Okay, there are 2 clues here. After you enter the graveyard, test 3. If you fail, you must either take 2 horror or move to Rivertown. So we are a 4. 4 versus 3. Let's just do it. Let's just straight up do that. 4 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which is the highest number of doom, and there are no doom on any of the enemies, so we're perfectly fine. And then for our final action, we will discard 4 cards from your hand. Okay, which 4 cards? 1, 2, 3, and then 4, because we can play lucky from the top of our hand. There we go. Herman Collins is now in the victory display, so we get a victory for him. There we go. That's our 4 actions. So that was a pretty successful round. We got ourselves into the graveyard, and we got Herman Collins. So we now have 2 of the cultists, and there are still 4 actions to go, so we can make a decision about what we might try and do with the time that we have left. But before we do that, let's move into the enemy phase. So the Masked Hunter moves into Rivertown. The Hunting Night Gaunt moves down to the university. They're on the way. So we move into the upkeep phase and we get another knife. So I've got four resources, so everything's pretty good from that perspective. There are now 5 doom. Time really is running short. We'll see what the encounter deck has for us. And the hunt. Oh no. Wings of Darkness. Test 4. Okay, so we just can't fail this. Test 4. If you fail, take 1 damage horror and then move it to here, which would really mean we'd be fighting something we don't want to fight. So test 4. We are also a 4, so that's a 4 versus a 4. Let's make it, do we make it a 6 versus a 4? Yeah. Let's make it a 6 versus a 4. Oh, we've got the lucky. But we might need the lucky if we're going to try and... Yeah. Let's make it a 6 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. So let me just check this. We were a 4, 5, 6. 6 versus 4, so we're -1. So we can either discard another card or we can play our lucky. Am I really going to use the knife? Well, I don't have the fire axe and it... I'm gonna throw in the knife and see whether we'll draw from the chaos bag again. We get a -4, so that's even worse. Oh dear. So now we were a 4, 5, 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. 2 versus 4, so we fail by 2. So yes, we better play our lucky. So we play our lucky. It goes to the bottom of the... move to the bottom of the deck, which means we do pass. But that was a bit of rigmarole to do that. What's the next asset? Asset. Event. So that's the next event. We'll put that to the top so we know it's there. Okay. So there we go. I'll just check that again. We were 6. 6 versus a 4. We got... Did I do that right? It was a 6 versus a 4. -4. 2. Yeah, 2 versus 4. Yep. Okay. All right. I'll just put that in there. Okay. So that was the end of the mythos phase. So we move into the investigation phase. We have 4 actions on Wendy. So we've got 2 choices here. We could move into Rivertown and try and kill the masked hunter, which would mean we would evade him. So we would move, we would evade, then we would... yeah, he's a 4, so we would have to do... No, this is just too difficult to kill him. So I think what we do is... We get these clues and see if we can get something easier. So it's only a 1 versus a 2. We get a victory, so why not? Let's do it. So first action, investigation, 1 versus 3. So chaos bag gives us an elder sign, auto fail. So we'll do it again, 1 versus 3. Yep, successful. We've got the 2 clues, and I'll do it again, 1 versus 3. We get another -1, so we're also successful. So there we go. We've got all of the clues. That's a victory point. Fantastic. So we've now got 3 victory points. Now, the only problem is we're going to take a bit of damage when the... No. We can... So what we will do is we will move to Rivertown. We will pay 2, and we will use our elusive here, which then moves to the bottom of the deck. So let me just see what the next thing... I think it's the backstab, is it? Yes, it is. So we now have the backstab as at the top of our discard pile. But we just played elusive, so which means we disengage from the masked hunter, so we can move anywhere we want. Somewhere, well, there's really only one place we can move where we're not going to get attacked, and that's downtown. So we will move there, because everywhere else we'll get monstered by these 2. Okay, so there you go. That's the end of our turn. So we not too bad. We got the clues from the graveyard, so we failed, and then we spent 2 more turns getting the clues from the graveyard. We moved into Rivertown, and then we used elusive to get ourselves away. Very nice. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. So no, he'd move here, wouldn't he? Yeah, he would move here. So there you go. I'm getting a bit scissored here now. Whoops. So that's the end of the enemy phase. We move into the upkeep phase. We get another elusive. That's come at the right time because we might need it again. Yeah, we move into the mythos phase. So there's now only 2 more turns after this. Yes, turn 6, so we really are running out of time to do much else. Chaos counter deck gives us another acolyte, so that speeds things up even more. We've got to put this somewhere where there's nobody else. So we can put it in any of these places. Yeah, this is really hard to know where to put it. So we're either going to get Peter, who'll be here, or we're going to get, I can't remember the name of the autopsy lady, who's going to be here. Or we're going to get Devereaux, who's here. Well, it can't go there anyway, but it's going to be one of those 3. Let's just put it on St. Mary's Hospital with a Doom. Okay. So we're really, really running out of time. So it's the investigation phase. We put 4 actions onto Wendy. First action, let's see what we get when we put in a clue. Who do we get? Shuffle it up. And we get Peter. Okay, so we get Peter Warren. And we have to just spend 2 clues to parley with him. All we have to do is spend 2 clues and parley with him and add him to the victory display. So we have 1 clue, but we're in a 3-shroud location, but that's a 4-shroud location. So if we're going to do anything at all, I'm just thinking, so if we're going to do this, can we do this? So what we would need to do is we'd need to get the clue, move here, elusive, we couldn't elusive, no. I don't think we can do this. Just trying to think, if we had 2 clues, we could. We could get a clue. Let me think about this. We could get a clue. We could move to the north side. So get a clue. Okay, so we've had 1 go. Then we would get a clue. Then we would move to north side, play elusive, and get to St. Mary's Hospital. And then we would need to kill the acolyte. And we can only spend 1 of these. So that would make us a 3 versus a 3. So we would have to succeed on a 0 or better, where even the skull is unlikely. The other alternative is, I don't think there is any other alternative, spend the 2 clues. Don't. No. So we've only got 3 goes left. So we either have to get another clue. So he can't use elusive enemy, so he's an enemy. So you can't move to there. We could get a clue and then we could move twice, but then that would be the end of our go. And then the mythos phase would click over and it would be the end. Oh dear. It's really, really unfortunate that we got this acolyte. Because I think otherwise we could have gotten Peter Warren. I can't see how else we can get him. And if we had 2 clues, we could have gotten him. And No. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way we can... I mean, we can move here. Oh, we can't move to the Acolyte, though. Because he's a... Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I don't think there's any way we can, unfortunately, get Peter as well. The other alternative would be to try to move to East Town and kill the Masked Hunter in 2 turns, and that's not going to happen either. I don't think there's anything else we can do. So I think the best thing would be for us to resign at this stage and move on. So yeah, that's the end for Wendy. That was rather a frustrating scenario. Things started very, very slow for her. It really took a long time before we were able to achieve anything in terms of getting... We were really into Agenda 2. We were in Agenda 2A before we were able to get any of the cultists. Once we got into Agenda 2A, not too bad. We did get Herman Collins and Wolfman Drew. It's just unfortunate that we then weren't able to get at least one more cultist. But we managed to finish in 13 turns. We got 3 victory points, so that's not too bad in 13 turns. So I think we will leave it at that. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Next time, we will be running through the Midnight Masks with who will we be doing next time? I'm just trying to think. I'm just looking it up. You would think I would do this before I start. Clearly, I need to work on my preparation a little bit. But if I have a look here, Wendy Adams. It's time for Agnes Baker, everyone's favourite mystic waitress, to take on the Midnight Masks. So we will see how Agnes goes next time, and we'll see after this table how Wendy has done compared to the other investigators so far. Not too bad, not as good as Roland, but he set a pretty high watermark. But thank you very much for watching. I'm Krabby Terror 8. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I very much appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.